Henderson has had a remarkable season. He reached the 50 winner mark at the Cheltenham Festival, winning the Gold Cup, the Queen Mother Champion Chase and the Arkle Trophy. He's heading for his third trainer's title and has charge of the best chaser in the country. After the dust had settled on Cheltenham, I went to see him in his office at the famous Seven Barrows in Lambourne. Nicky, it's a very curious comment that we're sitting here about to talk horses and we have the Gold Cup winner housed outside, and yet he's not even top of the agenda. Of course, all the thought and all the talk is about Sprinter Sacre, a very special horse. What sort of difference has he made to you, and what difference has he made to the yard, do you think?
Yeah, I think you're right. He's made a difference to a lot of people. I think he's made a lot of difference to us because I think we all get a bit pressurised, and you know, the pre-Cheltenham nerves kick in sometime in February. But this time there was something very special or very different about it, because here is a horse, and it was blatant throughout the week, that has sort of stepped out of just the normal realms of being not just the champion, but a horse of just such extraordinary presence and aura that he's become he's becoming the public sort of face of jumping at the moment, which is great. I think it's great for the sport. It's not just that he is fantastically good, but that he's just the most amazing looking horse. He's just got such great presence, and his whole attitude to life is what you spend years looking for. He's got a wow factor, and he is a James Bond type of sort of equine person, and he knows that. He loves showing off, and yeah, we love having him, but it has its sort of the disadvantages that it puts you under enormous pressure. And if anybody thinks that we enjoyed particularly the 5 minutes before the champion chase began, and they were actually stood at the start for, you know, the commentator said there's 5 minutes to post time. I thought, I'm not going to survive 5 minutes. There's no way. I was ready to go back to the medical room in the weighing room and get some resuscitation, because I was on my, you know, it gets to you like that. But what is it was soon all over.
What is it that scares you about him?
Well, I think it's probably now it's the point of, you know, could we let anybody down? And that everybody is looking for this flawless performance, and only that will suffice. And luckily it was there. And then you have this amazing sort of relief, and I can't tell you what it was like when you suddenly realised that he had done what everybody wanted to see. And the whole reception and everything about it, you know, you did realise that, yeah, this was something very, very special.
And you've said, you know, that the program is fairly restricted for a 2 mile specialist. Is the temptation there to sort of push on and say maybe step up to 2.5, or could you ever see in time that the horse ever getting 3 miles?
We met up with the breeders, and they find it quite extraordinary that he's running over 2 miles, because the whole way down the dam side of his pedigree it says 3 miles, 3 miles, 3 miles, 3 miles, and why are we running him over 2? I said to him the other day, well, I don't know what you'd do if he went over 3, but he'd be more likely to lap them. Aintree comes on us that week quicker this year than it did last year. But consequently, we have sort of not ruled out going to Aintree, i.e. we might try him over 2.5, which would open up a few extra avenues for him for next year. That, you know, if he does stay 2.5, I mean, he has got this hugely high cruising speed, and he possibly, I mean, the faster you go, the better he probably jumps. You're only, when you're holding him up behind horses, you're actually only curtailing his enthusiasm, but in fairness, probably quite a bit of his natural talent, which is just to go and bowl and jump and attack.
So I take it that he's come out of Cheltenham just bouncing.
He looks great, and his coat was fantastic going into Cheltenham, and his whole demeanour was, if that stays the same, then we've still another fortnight to go before entry, so we'll keep monitoring it. But as I say, our thoughts at the moment could easily be leaning towards that.
And what do you think makes him so special?
We all spend days and months in France, Ireland, England, at the sales, Doncaster, Tats in Ireland, and everywhere. We're just looking for horses. Everybody has a different idea of what they like and what they don't like. Bobsworth wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea, but literally any person, any trainer, any owner or bloodstock agent couldn't fail to walk into this box and say, wow, that is stunning.
Yeah.
He is what I would call as good as, or as near the sort of perfect article that you would look for in a steeplechaser.
Now, of course, we're talking about the show-off. We've got a Gold Cup winner here as well, and he's almost Mr. Invisible compared to the show-off. And Bobsworth, a very admirable winner of the Gold Cup. How's he come out of the race?
Actually, really well. He looks fantastic. I just feel and fear there's nowhere else for him to go, to be honest with you. He wouldn't be an Aintree horse, and he wouldn't be a Kempton horse. And unfortunately, he's only had 2 runs this year. We've won Hennessy Gold Cup, and yes, we wrapped him up through the winter. It's been the wettest, nastiest winter that any of us can remember, and that's why consequently we went in with a whole team of horses that had had very, very few races, and some even questioned that trying to go from the Hennessy on the 1st of December to the Gold Cup in the middle of March was it was certainly unorthodox, but it was better than the alternative, which was a grueling race somewhere in January. We knew where we were trying to run in January, but unfortunately, really, I don't see there's anywhere else for him to go, to be honest with you. And it's not that we're trying to wrap him up or do that. He wouldn't be the most robust character in the world, but he's come out of this looking really, really well. He's become a true little professional that loves to fight and loves to get stuck in the ruck and muck in with everybody.
So they come back next year, Bobsworth Gold Cup again, long run Gold Cup again. How would you be thinking about that?
Well, you'd love to think that's all what's going to happen, but it's never that easy. And I mean, you know, as you say, look forward to next year, but everything has to go so right again. You stop and you start again, and we all know, any trainer knows, that once you're doing that, you're starting. We let a very fit athlete go to a very unfit athlete, and if you actually translated that into the terms of, say, an Olympic who had trained for 3 years, 4 years for the Olympic Games, would they suddenly go and let themselves completely down for 2 or 3 months after the Games? The answer is they wouldn't. But you're taking, you know, a fully fit, mature horse here, and we go and turn it out in a field and say, go and do nothing. And an athlete wouldn't dream of doing that. So then you start up in the autumn, we start the build-up again of trying to get back to where we were. And that build-up area and all the prep and everything, that's fraught. It's a minefield time. And, you know, a lot of things change and horses develop different problems. They can't talk like maybe an athlete can and say, I feel this or I feel that. And we just have to start all over again.
Now, if they could talk, the horse I'd like to have a conversation with is Simonsig. Now, going into Cheltenham, we quite rightly, I think, we had very high hopes for him being an absolute sensation. But I think his display seemed to indicate that he still has an awful lot to learn.
Well, it wasn't his fault. Actually, what it does tell us that he must be an incredibly talented horse to have won under the circumstances he was under.
Which were?
Well, he's always... I think we were going to run him earlier on in the year, and that's the sort of second or third time. He's very susceptible to anything that... I mean, his breathing is fine, but he's well capable. He got beaten one time by Fingal Bay in a hurdle race, any time he got beaten, and he came back the same then. And there was once earlier on in this year that we were going to run him again, and his basically just he gets a bit of mucus and muck and all sorts of things in his lungs, and you've got to be very protective of them. And a fortnight before Cheltenham, I mean, I said to Ronnie, I'd happily run this in the Champion Hurdle. The piece of work he did a fortnight before, it was frightening. And yet, the horse that worked a fortnight before did not turn up at Cheltenham. He really didn't. And it's shown up since,
really?
Because we knew where to look for it. And I don't think there was any doubt that early on, when he was being very stupid, to be fair, he knew it and he was running away from it. It doesn't, I don't say it hurts, but he sort of knows. And that wasn't, as I say, that wasn't the same horse as I had a fortnight before the race, or we saw earlier on in the year when we actually ran him twice in a week, because I wanted practice. I hadn't got enough practice going into Cheltenham. But it wasn't that he was too fresh, it was just that something was aggravating him, and he knew it. And as I say, to be able to do what he did when he wasn't at his best does tell you that he is very, very, very good.
So he hasn't come out of Cheltenham well, and
he has come out of it actually now. We've scoped him, and he's on some antibiotics, and at the moment he's only trotting. And he's Holly, who's been looks after him and has been riding every day. Even this morning said, you know, each day he's fresher and brighter and happier. We think about it. We'll have another look, another medical check next week. I think it's unlikely that we'll see him again this year, as much as I would like to. But I see what everybody is thinking, that he isn't as good as they thought he might be. The nice thing I can say is that actually isn't the case, and I'll do my best to show you the real Simonsig again next season.
Nicky, you're heading for your third trainer's title. It's 26 years since your second, but what we've seen in the last 4 years is a remarkable resurgence in your stable. What do you put that down to?
Is I have the most fantastic bunch of owners, if you like. They're all friends. We all have fun together, and it's got to be fun, whether you're spending lots of noughts or no noughts. We're going to go out there and do our best, but we've got to go and have some fun with it, and that's our job. And I'm very lucky. I mean, I'd like to think that all our owners, and they've been unbelievable. They've supported us through thick and thin, and there are always thin days. There are always thin patches in it, and we can get fairly depressed about it. But their loyalty has been unbelievable.